bought this Lamborghini Huracan 3 weeks ago, and since then I've driven it like any responsible owner would. 3,000 miles later, a trip to Chicago, nights out on Woodward, and hitting the drag strip, I can honestly tell you that this is the best car that I've ever driven. So let's hop on in and let me tell you a bit about the Huracan from an owner's perspective. Here are some specs that you as enthusiasts probably already know. The Huracan is referred to as the LP610-4. 610 stands for the metric horsepower. When converted to American or British units, it's actually 601.4. The -4 means that it's all-wheel drive. As you also probably know, Lamborghini recently unveiled the LP580-2, which, you guessed it, 580 metric horsepower, and it's rear-wheel drive. It also produces 413 pound-feet of torque. This is the first Lamborghini where it actually drives better than it looks. Instead of its top 3 attributes being looks, and attention, its top 3 are the engine, the transmission, and the steering. Unlike the 650S and the 488, the Huracan is naturally aspirated. It's got a 5.2-liter V10 that's revamped. It's called IDS, and I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce that in Italian, as it will just be embarrassing. But essentially what it means is it's a mix of direct and indirect injection, which boosts horsepower from the LP560 while reducing CO2 emissions. Let me give you a little bit of a taste of what this thing sounds like. It produces its max horsepower at 8,250 RPMs. Its redline's 8,500, and this is one of the best sounding cars of all time. Like most car reviews, you're a minute in and you're already bored of all the specs and the crazy metaphors that people use. I'm guilty of it too, but we're gonna do something different. I'm gonna put it in Corsa mode, turn ESC off, and activate launch control so you can hear the ridiculous sound of the Huracan. Oh, and by the way, it does 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. Mash the throttle, and hold on tight. The acceleration in this thing is out of this world. The quarter mile happens in 10.4 seconds. I've taken this to the track, and the first run ever, I ran a 10.7. Granted, that was also at 90 degrees Fahrenheit, so I would guess if it was closer to 50 degrees, I probably would have improved that time quite a bit. The Gallardo and the LP560 had one really big weak point. Was the transmission. At full throttle, those banging shifts were absolutely incredible. But at anything other than full out, it was pretty bad. Honestly, driving it around town, it was clunky, and you could even actually stall the transmission if you didn't give it the right amount of gas from a standstill. The good news is, Lamborghini has completely fixed it with this new 7-speed dual-clutch transmission. It's as instantaneous as it gets, providing all the responsiveness that you need, and it makes the car a hell of a lot more fun, whether it's around town or on the racetrack. It had to happen. Lamborghini was using a single clutch transmission. They actually used it in the Aventador for weight savings reasons, but it was just too clunky. The double clutch transmission completely transforms this car, as does the drive mode selection called Anima, which actually means soul in Italian. Let's put it in Strada, that means street in Italian. I rarely ever drive in this mode. It makes the car incredibly tame. The steering is lighter, the suspension is softer, and it's a lot quieter. To be honest, it's a little bit boring. But if you're in the rain, or you're driving to and from the store and it's bumper-to-bumper traffic, you can throw it into automatic mode, and the car is very, very easy to drive. Now flip it into sport. The car completely transforms. Instantly, the exhaust is louder, the paddle response is quicker, it holds RPMs higher, and the suspension and the steering are tighter. This is where I spend the majority of my time. The cool thing is, you get all the responsiveness and the control of Corsa mode, but you've got a little bit more traction. In Strada mode, you've got basically full traction control. In Sport, it reduces that a little bit. But it doesn't allow you to bang into the rev limiter. So if you make it to 8,000 RPMs and you let off the gas or you shift, it's not gonna shift for you. But if you run it into the rev limiter, it will shift for you. So if you're doing something like a roll race or you're drag racing, chances are this might be the fastest mode. Now, if you wanna go all out, which obviously in a car like this is necessary sometimes, you put it into Corsa mode. Now, Corsa mode is absolutely insane. Traction is less, it can bang into the rev limiter, shifts punch you in the back. Watch this shift. And even on overrun, it crackles even more. Oh my God. A lot of people were wondering, with the new DCT, is it gonna rid the car of the drama, the intense thrashing of your neck? But in Corsa mode, it is every bit as intense and just an absolutely awesome driving experience. No ESC. Even with traction control turned off, the amount of grip this car has is unbelievable. The all-wheel drive system is incredibly advanced, and this car inspires confidence when driving fast like almost no other car. The best way I can describe the feeling of driving a Huracan is like a Porsche 911 GT3 with a mid-mounted V10 in it. It is that sharp. It is that capable in the track and just on back roads. It's incredible how well this thing performs. I've driven this car every single day for the last 3 weeks. That means sometimes boring driving, trips to the grocery store, bumper-to-bumper traffic, cruising on the freeway, and of course, awesome parts like trips to the drag strip and hauling ass on back roads. The crazy part is the Huracan does everything extremely well. It honestly doesn't suffer from the typical compromises that you have when you try to make an all-around great daily drivable supercar. It looks great, it sounds great, it handles well, it's comfortable to drive when in Strada mode and even Sport or Corsa. The interior is more spacious than the Gallardo. It feels a lot roomier, there's plenty of legroom. Storage space is pretty lame, I'll be honest with that. But overall, oh my God, is the Huracan amazing. My favorite part is when driving it, you actually feel one with the car. Now hear me out before you write that off as the corniest shit I've ever said. And it might be, but there's some absolute truth to it. The Huracan performs so well that your hands, your feet, your eyes, and your brain all feel connected and in sync with the car. It will do whatever you want, however you want it. Unless a heavily modified GTR pulls up next to you on the highway, you should probably just put your emergency flashers on and exit as fast as possible to save yourself the embarrassment. Ferrari owners often use the phrase, driving a Ferrari is more like dancing than it is driving. And at first that phrase made me want to vomit, but there actually is some substance to it. This is a next level of performance where what you feel, what you see, where your eyes point down the road, the car is capable of doing. And it's so quick that for the average consumer, the average buyer of this car, there is no way you'll ever be craving for more. The interior is absolutely gorgeous. It's got Alcantara with green stitching mixed with leather. The center console is shaped very much like the Aventador. You've got the flip-up start-stop fighter jet style switch, and the reverse lever looks like it's something out of a Star Trek movie. The instrument cluster is one of the coolest parts about the car. It's digital, fully customizable with the controls on your steering wheel. Hold up on the steering wheel, it changes it to the speedo, but I don't usually use that. Well, you're probably bored again, so I'm gonna put it in launch control. I don't know if you can see what the acceleration does to my face, but holy shit. You have no idea. I've done launch control so many effing times in this car since I bought it over the last 3,000 miles. And it shocks me every time how quick it is. Unbelievable. God, that is so fun. Automatic mode is something I've used only a couple times, but for the sake of this review, I'll talk about it because it's actually kind of impressive. You can't activate it while in Corsa mode, something I use a lot, but in Strada or Sport you can. Now when in Sport mode, you click the M button if you're already in manual to shift back into automatic. And it's actually incredibly intelligent. When you step on the brakes, it downshifts for you to the correct gear. I was in 4th gear and it automatically skipped 3rd, downshifted into 2nd to let me prepare for the next turn. With an average driver, you're probably actually going to be faster in automatic mode around the track than you would shifting yourself, but it's definitely more boring, so I rarely do it. But definitely, I'm impressed with how good the computer is at judging what gear you need to be in. How cool is that? I'm not shifting at all, and the computer did everything. Some of you are going to comment, that's not cool at all. That's boring. I guarantee you, if you were flooring it in the car, you would think otherwise, but I don't really use automatic mode. Just wanted to talk a bit about it. A quick note about maintenance costs. A lot of people are wondering with supercars, how much will it cost to maintain? Well, this car has a 3-year unlimited mile warranty, which means that your only costs will be brakes, tires, gas, and servicing. How much does servicing cost? The yearly service you're supposed to do, you can either do it once a year or a certain mileage that you reach, is between $800 and $1,500. So in the scheme of things, that's really not all that much. Some people are probably cringing at this point. You've watched 3 seconds of the video and you're leaving a comment that says, it's Huracan, not Huracan. Well, I went to the Lamborghini factory and you are in part right, but it did seem like there was a split between people at the factory calling it the Huracan and the Huracan. And because I think I sound stupid saying Huracan, I'm just calling it the Huracan. I'll be honest, when the Huracan came out, I wasn't that obsessed with the way it looked. I thought it was a little bit tamer than the usual stuff that came out of the Lamborghini factory. But it has since grown on me, and a lot of that is because the car looks so much better with black wheels as opposed to silver ones. Why that is, I don't know, but something about the contrast makes it look a hell of a lot better. Now, I've taken this car on a long road trip. Now I'm going over a bumpy road right now. For a period of time, like an hour and a half, the seats are totally comfortable. They're very, very supportive. They hug you in place, especially driving quickly around turns. But after that, if you have any sort of a history with back problems and whatnot, it's going to hurt your back. So a 5-hour-long road trip, it's totally doable. I've done it in the car, but you're gonna wanna take more breaks than in something like a Mercedes SLS or an Aston Martin Vanquish, more of a Grand Tourer car. I can't keep a damn smile off my face when I drive this car. Those downshifts and the steering response, oh my god, and the acceleration. It's absolutely ridiculous. I am so infatuated with this car. I can honestly say, of all the cars I've reviewed and tested, this is the best driving car. It's the most fun. It drives like a Porsche, it looks like a Velociraptor crossed with a Manta Ray, and it sounds like a Lamborghini. And honestly, that is the best series of compliments I could give any car.